Welcome to the Temple of Flame. On today, faithful acolytes, we take a look at this. And what we have from Melinda's. It is, so their branch, it's their, I will say this. Evidently they've had expansion plans. And what formerly were, kind of a broad selection of sauces, but they have since expanded into ketchups. I've done both of those. Hot honeys, I've done both of those, as well as making even more sauces, and I've done some of those this year. And then I just happened to notice this when I was wandering along the shelves of Walmart one day. And look at this. So I guess this division is Melinda's preserves, and this is actually a jelly, ghost pepper strawberry jelly. And again, I don't know what makes a jelly versus a jam versus a preserve. If I'm going to keep doing these, I probably should find that out. Maybe at some point I will. Anyway, so we have strawberry, ghost pepper mash. I just can't bring myself to go by with seeing something like this without getting it, because as viewers of this series know, I'm hopelessly devoted to coverage. Anyway, oh, is it? It looks like it has a seal on it, does it not? Yeah, it does. So, any which way, the get out of there. Jellies are something when I was doing a little bit of pre-production planning, which I normally start, I guess, for the coming year, mostly towards the end of quarter 3, and then pretty much all throughout quarter 4 of the given year since I've started this video series. I didn't do it in 2019, so September, I think, 2019 is when I started the video series. And I don't think I did it that year, but every year after that, and it was pretty easy to do because the end of 2019, generally I do a little bit of blog pre-planning and kind of look at what I had left on my shelf, what I wanted to get to. I've always had pretty deep lists of sauce and sauce companies that I want to try to get to at some point, whether it's that given year or a different time. And so adding in the video, but this is one of the areas that I thought, Jesus. So I thought, I really haven't touched on this, so last year I started to add meats and cheeses. That was kind of what started to get added last year. I think ramen noodles, I can't remember when I added ramen noodles. I think that might have been during 2023. I wasn't really all that familiar with the video landscape of the so-called chili head community prior to starting. I was peripherally aware of it, but I wasn't, deeply invested. I didn't have a lot of, channels I followed or anything like that. And I think that's the case actually for most of the people in this space. I don't think any of us religiously watch each other's videos. I think most of the time we might see what they've recently posted, to see if it's a product that maybe we want to give our take on it as well. You know, and people sometimes get weird about that, but, you know, the shit isn't like pie, right? It's not like you do the thing and then it's gone. You know, like that in fact, that's actually a central tenet of what I'm doing here. I want everyone to be able to do this if they're interested. I want everyone to be able to go and look at these products. I don't want it to be something that just I'm doing. You know, you can take my spin on it, and if our tastes match, then you'll have an idea whether you like it or not. But if it's something that's glowing in particular, you know, we're calling attention to, you know, I want somebody else to be able to go out and enjoy it as well. It just, that helps all of us. Anyway, it does have, I got too much in this spoon. You can see it's getting very dense there, but there is some lighter stuff here. It definitely looks just like a strawberry jelly. Like, it's not, I noticed that it's not as bright red though as some of the other ones are. This looks a bit more natural, actually. You know, you get the Smucker's packs or whatever in IHOP, for instance, and it's that really, really bright, vibrant red. This is not that. This looks a lot more dense, but kind of. But I mean, strawberries take on that color when they get cooked, so I think we're on the money here. Before I get into this, I will say that a lot of the other Melinda products I found lacking to a degree. And, you know, let's do that on the other side. Let's just get into this right now. Wow. I was a little bit worried when I saw lime in there. This is, all right, this is going to sound weird. But this tastes a bit, it doesn't have artificial strawberry pumped into it, right? So the strawberry is not jacked to the nines on this. This actually tastes a lot more natural. There's not a lot of artificiality in this. In fact, I don't even think I see. Yeah, there's no preservatives at all in this. Yeah, strawberry, sugar, water, lime juice. Lime juice, I don't know what, maybe that's to temper the sugar a little bit. You can actually get a sense of the ghost peppers as well, which is really, really interesting. Usually we see strawberry combined with scorpion in hot sauces a lot. This is really, really interesting. So I've got just a couple pieces of double fiber toast here. And this is why I'm not going to just sit here and eat jelly by itself. Let's see how spreadable it is. So this I would say it almost spreads more like a jam instead of a jelly. It doesn't have that sort of jello aspect to it that jelly frequently does. It is a bit of it though. This is really, really interesting. For a strawberry jelly, strawberry is actually, get off the spoon. Wow, okay, come on. Anyway, so it is not super vibrant strawberry. And this okay, this kind of brings me back to what I was saying before. Most of their, oh, we got some actual chunks of strawberry here. I'm never going to get to that point if I keep interrupting myself. All right. So I do like the flavor of this. It is a really interesting approach. And I think that is kind of the hallmark of Melinda's insertion into this expansion. They seem to have chosen two peppers to do this with. So there's a habanero ketchup and a ghost ketchup. There's a actually it's not even it's a cayenne, rather, honey, and then a ghost honey. And I think the thing that they do the best of this sort of expansiveness, for me, has been the sauces. They had a really nice cayenne sauce that I had. Very, very, very enjoyable. We're going to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on toast. Toasted double fiber bread, by the way. So they had this really nice cayenne sauce that I think is just, like, they did a really, really good job with that for what it was. It's a little bit thick, a little bit more pasty than I normally would want my sauces, but it does, I think they wanted it to hold in place. I think it was what they were going for there, and it does do a pretty decent job at that. So they've got that, that down. Very accessible sauce. Super, super tasty. It's very, very nice. So that was a good one. I think I did that either last year or early in 2025. I don't recall which. But the thing that I've liked the best out of all those other ones, the ketchups are both kind of awful. I'm just going to throw it out there. They made a really odd decision that I don't understand, whereas they put cloves in the ketchup, but it is super distracting in the flavor. The ghost pepper version of that came out the best. The ghost pepper honey is probably the spin-off that's a non-hot sauce thing that I've liked the best. It had a decent amount of heat to it, and the flavor is actually notably better than the regular hot honey. And it did have a decent degree of heat in it. Same with the ghost pepper ketchup. This is very, very moderate as far as heat. And so I'm really not sure why they did this. Like, I do have the habanero jelly. I'll get to that at some point as well. But this one, so the habanero is a mango thing. That one I'm not quite sure what I'm going to pair that with yet, which is why you're seeing this one first. But this one, strawberry to me is not, if it was more of a liquidy consistency, it'd probably make a pretty decent topping for like ice cream or something like that. As it is, this is, they're saying to pair it with cheese and stuff, which I guess you could. Or you could spread over a block of cream cheese, which sure. I mean, really though, with the consistency of this, I don't know how well it's going to spread. But, peanut butter and jelly is fine. But this is always kind of the thing with their expansion is I appreciate them doing it. I'm glad they're doing it because I think it's going to help them, I would assume, sell more hot sauce. But also it expands the chili head, potentially expands the chili head community at large, where they have a lot of, the more gateway products I think they can have out there, the better. So, I like, I don't really mind the over-amplified strawberry concoctions. This one is very sweet. And strawberries are one of those ingredients, even though it's the first thing here, I don't not understand why other companies may feel the need to pump up the strawberry flavor more. Yeah, I don't mind that. In fact, I think this would have been helped by that. These are obvious. I mean, this is probably more natural, but they, I honestly, I kind of think they overcooked the strawberries a little bit here. And that was, I think, my biggest complaint with the ketchup too. My feeling is if you're going to enter in to these side spin-off things, which again I think is a great idea, I think you kind of need to know what else is there in order to be competitive. You know, what should the final result of what you're doing taste like, feel like, smell like? And by feel, I mean mouthfeel, not does your ketchup feel different if you rub it on your skin. That's not what I'm saying. I mean like mouthfeel and everything, texture-wise, everything. And I feel like they really failed to do that with ketchup. I had never heard ever before theirs of putting fucking cloves in ketchup. I still don't know why they did that. I didn't even wind up finishing the habanero one. The jury's kind of out on the ghost pepper one. It is less egregious, though. It at least does have a bit of heat to compensate for it. I feel like they made the same mistake here. I can't really say this without it sounding like an insult, and I don't mean it to be. I don't mean this to be an insult, but to me, this it tastes kind of cheap. That doesn't necessarily mean bad, but this is kind of like the store brand value jelly that you may be buying. And sometimes, like, store brands are fine. Kroger's is a perfectly acceptable peanut butter. But this kind of reminds me of like the store brand jellies and junk. And I don't know if that's what they were going for or not. But that's what we have. There is a slight bit of heat to this. And this isn't awful. Like, I'll probably finish this jar. Peanut butter and jelly is not really my thing, but I'll probably finish this. But it sort of is just another entry from Melinda's into a market I'm not convinced they understand. Now, why is this a problem? So we'll take a step back. This gets a default 1 for heat, by the way. Nice sort of very low-key all-around mouth heat. Heat-wise, I think they did a nice job with this. I just really wish they would have went to the top of the market. And then some of and the middle stuff, and just try to figure out where they want to insert themselves. Honestly, I kind of feel like they're aiming for the bottom. And from a flavor perspective, just with a bit of extra heat. And it's like, I don't understand why you would do that. And like I said, so the big problem, getting back to that, is I talked a little bit ago in this video about gateway stuff for the chili curious to become actually chili heads. And for many different people, it's a lot of different things. A lot of people go as high as like those noxious flaming hot Cheetos, and that's it. They're done. That is as hot as they ever care to get. They don't want to go any further, and that's it. Just those nasty ass things, which is fine. You know, whatever. No problem there. But sometimes you'll have something really, really spicy that also has a wonderful flavor. And like, it's like trying a new cuisine style. You wonder to yourself, what else is there? If I like this, what else is available in this culinary world? And in America, especially in the Northwest, you get a lot of really heavy cream type stuff from Europe, France, Germany, and so on. England probably as well. And then you also have an influx of fairly potato-heavy stuff. And then because it's America, there's a lot of Italian-ish stuff. Pizza, spaghetti, and so on. And you might have a Taco Bell insertion into Mexican type stuff. But and the Asian stuff you'll have is like chunking. And maybe if there happens to be somebody from China that comes up there and starts a restaurant and then quickly has to modify it for an American audience. But you may not be introduced, for instance, to the wonderful world of Japanese cuisine. And you have to actually leave you have to go to somewhere larger to experience that. In my own case, I moved 1,300 miles away, more or less, from where I spent my younger years, and was introduced to the world of Japanese cuisine. And I think the first thing I had was tempura, something or other. Or maybe it might have been a teppanyaki type thing. And I went, holy shit, what the hell is this? And is there more? Like, what else is there? And Japanese food is arguably my favorite type of food because I really like subtlety and nuance and balanced flavors and clean flavors and so on. So that was really good. And then I started dating a Vietnamese girl after I moved, I guess a couple of years after I moved. And there was this whole world I'd never had access to or even knew existed with Vietnamese cuisine, and a lot of that is really fantastic as well because you have this sort of combination of Chinese with sort of a French spin on things. Is very, very fascinating. I like a lot of what they do there. But none of that would have existed had I not moved. So in the case of this, the thing that really drove me was just these mind-blowing flavors. I was like, wow, this is like the first time I had chili garlic sauce was after I moved. The first time I had sriracha was after I moved. Which is really interesting because those two should be fairly ubiquitous, but I never saw them anywhere until I'd actually moved. The universality, the commonality, if you will, with all of these was just this tremendously great flavor. And that was a gateway for me into different cuisine styles. When you're being introduced to something, the biggest motivator is not going to be heat, I don't think. It's going to be flavor. You can make anything hot by just dumping extract in it. That's as unglamorous and as undignified as a way that you can approach that. Just, there you go, now it's hot. And if you can integrate it with flavor, right? The flavor's got to be the king. And that's really where this also, along with the honeys, along with the ketchups, sort of falls down. Like they're very well versed in sauces, right? So the cayenne sauce that I had, and I do have a couple other ones on the shelf as well, that are sans onions, which was my biggest hurdle to doing any of these sauces before. And so they so far have been really adept at sauces, but they've been doing it a really long time. The ketchup, you could say, is a condiment, as a sauce, but I still don't know why you would ever put cloves in ketchup. Like, it is such a baffling ingredient to throw in there. I don't understand it, and it's awful. And it actually ruined both of the ketchups for me. And the hot honeys, to me, a hot honey should be honey first and then other stuff as well. What they did was sort of combine mash and honey together, which is sort of a kind of foot in both worlds sort of approach. But by doing that, you sort of negate all the uses Like if you put that in tea, you're going to get a bunch of little pulpy pepper skin bits and seeds and junk at the bottom. Or you might actually drink it if it, if it floats up. And that's not going to be pleasant. So to me, they cut out a lot of potential uses of the honey by putting it in both worlds. I think that was not a smart decision. The flavor-wise, the habanero fared a lot worse than did the Ghost. But neither one of those is probably anything I would really care to repeat. And maybe the Ghost pepper, because it's a actually fairly inexpensive way to get a hot honey. So the Ghost pepper one I actually might get again once I've got other stuff on deck. But once I run out of that, then I might just get more of that because I do like a little blast of heat in the morning to kind of set the day. And it's almost like with the ketchups that they just didn't understand what they were trying to do. Like you don't know what your target is, so you just make something. And I think that's the case here. I think for me, if I was going to try to make a commercial product and to try to launch it the way that they're trying to launch it as a mass market thing, I think you have to know what everybody else is doing, not necessarily so you can copy them, but just so that you can understand what the prevailing sentiment and marketplace desire is for that type of product. So this, I don't know how well any of this is going to do. I suspect people might be like me and try it and go, okay. It's not wowing anybody. And I think to be a really good gateway product, you kind of have to have the wow factor. And this, I guess this for me doesn't. Like I said, it's not bad. It is, as far as a strawberry jam goes, it is sweeter than I generally like. I don't like really hyper sweet things, and this is fairly sweet. The heat is decent though. Like I only gave it a default 1, but it is a nice sort of round heat. It's not punishing. I think the heat is about where it needs to be for a gateway product. And if people have this and they go, oh, well, it's ghost pepper jelly and I can handle that just fine, maybe I should move up. Awesome. That's great. That's what we want to see, actually. But from a flavor perspective, why aim for the absolute bottom? Like, I don't get that. And I mean, strawberries too. Strawberries as a fruit, I think, can be really hit or miss. Sometimes they can be the greatest thing you've ever shoved in your mouth. And at other times, they're just kind of underwhelming. This would fall more on the underwhelming side of things. But I think they also got kind of overcooked to death here as well. But again, I don't know how to make preserves. I don't know anything about what qualifies as a jam versus jelly versus any of that kind of stuff. So I'm judging this, from a somewhat not necessarily ignorant viewpoint, but a much more limited one where I've only consumed stuff and I haven't really ever been super involved in the process. I think my mom might have, or my grandma, I can't remember which, might have attempted to make something like this at one time, but it wouldn't have been strawberry, but one of those type of things. So you kind of bring the stuff to a simmer or whatever, and then pour sugar in it and pectin and so on and so forth, and then it sets. And I mean, I understand the process, but where's the fine line between when it's overcooked to death and the flavor is all kind of diffused? Or maybe they just weren't ripe enough. Like I said, I don't know enough about this. I do understand why there's an inclination to add artificial strawberry flavor boosters to things. This one would have been served well, in fact, by having a little bit of that in there, I think. I didn't check the other prices in comparison to where this is, so I don't know where that kind of falls. I think this was like $5 or $6, and I believe the habanero version, it's a different fruit. You'll see that in a later video. But I think the other one might have been like $4 or $5. I don't actually now recall. I don't know how much jellies go for. I guess once again, I'm somewhat saddened by having to say it's not a wrong flavor per se. I mean, you can definitely tell it's strawberry. But this is really kind of a pedestrian flavor experience with just a nice degree of heat. And I can't help but be a bit disappointed by this. Just because I've had so many I like strawberry flavoring stuff, even the artificial stuff, quite a bit. And just that this is so dull for what can be a very vibrant fruit, I guess, is just a little bit disappointing. And I guess we'll leave it there. But again, I'm not really a huge jelly fan, and I sort of have particular taste. So if yours match mine, then this obviously will be of greater relevance to you. But anyway, we're going to leave it right there. That was the Melinda's... What is this? Melinda's Preserves. I don't know if this is actually a spin-off or just a... I guess it doesn't matter. The Ghost Pepper Strawberry Jelly. Now go forward in peace to serve the flame.